our Father which art in heaven.
Hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done in earth.
Thy will be done in earth.
As it is in heaven.
As it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread.
Give us this day our daily bread.
Give us our debt. As we give our debt to
As we
us.
forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation.
Lead us not into temptation.
But deliver us from evil.
But deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom.
For thine is the kingdom.
And the power.
And the power.
And the glory.
And the glory.
Forever.
Forever.
Amen.
Amen.
In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Then you wanna like get loud. Yeah. That's what's up. That's what's up. Q&A. Questions maybe about class that was taught today, or questions we may be dealing with. I am not a flat earth or a round earth debater, so any questions about that, you can ask them, but I probably be able to answer them according to scripture because that's something that I don't dabble in. But you know, with that being said, any questions according to the book? Check it out.
I had one.
What you got, Joe?
So I'm just trying to put everything into perspective about how we laid out the days and everything as far as creation, and 1,000 years for us to be one day of God. So in day one, when it was the light, but not
Hold
like
on
the.
1 second. Babe, you go ahead. Now y'all got it. Hey, you don't gotta do that to the market either. If you don't do that with the market, don't use it. Go ahead.
But so the first day when you talking about the light, and decipher that it's not it's not the sun and the moon, was the basically the plan of creation and everything, the idea. So man was yet to be put on earth wasn't even here yet, right? At that point, it was just God. When it was the idea, when it's light in day one.
You just saying was earth here?
Yeah. Cause it
wasn't covered in water.
Okay, so
at that point.
Yeah, at that point. All right, so at that point, being that there was Satan cast out of heaven already?
Yeah.
He was? Where? Because when he got casted out of earth.
He did.
But earth wasn't here.
Oh, hold on. Say that again. I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
The first day, because I did on the graph, the first day when we're talking about light, it's talking about the idea of the creation getting put together.
Let's go look at it.
The evening and the morning determine the day.
You in Genesis chapter 1, right?
But the ultimate question is really just it's more rhetorical and it's a speculative question. I don't think nobody can answer it.
Is that another question, or is that this right here we're dealing with?
It tied into it.
Okay. So your original question, go ahead and present it again.
Okay, so on the day one.
Okay.
All right. Pertaining to the light, everything like that, it's not the moon and the sun yet. It's the idea of creation of what they're gonna do. At that point, there was not there wasn't man on earth or anything like that or whatever. So man wasn't made anybody's likeness yet or anything like that. So I'm saying it was already ordained. The script was written out for us to fail. Right? If I'm understanding correctly, because if this was all new, this was all known prior. Satan wasn't cast out of heaven onto earth that didn't even exist yet, because he's just now coming up with the idea of creation. So the script was written for Satan to be cast out the lake, or cast out of heaven, for men to fail. Really, we never had a win to begin with. When you said that it wasn't the original plan for man was supposed to live. Well, I don't see how that be said though.
Because man was supposed to
live forever, because it was already written before man existed. That was the script.
Well, it was
Or
still,
Satan was cast out of
it was still a choice. Let's go look at Genesis chapter 2 right quick. And the choice that we're gonna see is that Adam had a choice. They both had a choice. So it wasn't. It's kind of like it was a backup plan. Like God knows His creation, but it was kind of like a plan just in case if this don't go the way we planned to go, this is what's gonna occur. You know what I mean? So it's not saying that.
It's just tough because we also say that we deal in absolute God. God that ain't never wrong. You know what I'm saying? So it's like for God to need a backup plan if things don't work
Well,
out.
it's not so much.
the original plan.
It's not so much as a backup plan because, like, man is man. You know what I mean? So, as what we finna read in Genesis chapter 2, we're gonna look at a man who made his decision based off his own wit.
The free will to God. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, like, he had God in his presence. Like, that's who he was dealing with. The tree of life was amongst him, not how we deal with it today. You know what I mean? Like, we deal with it, you know what I mean, by faith. You know what I mean? According to what we see is written, and we just know. You know what I mean? But what they had God in their presence, as to what we read in Genesis chapter 2. You know what I mean? So, God was amongst Adam and Eve. Let's read two. Pick it up at Genesis 2 and verse 9.
And out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that's pleasant unto the sight, and good for food. The tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
So we got the tree of life, Jesus. We got the tree of knowledge of good and evil, Satan. Like, he in the garden of God. They both are there. So look at what the Lord said in verse 16. Read that.
And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest eat, that thou mayest freely eat.
So he gave him the option. He said, look here. You want that down a little bit? He gave him the option. Look here. You can eat of the tree of life freely. Because what we saw in verse 9, the tree of life was also in the midst of the garden. Now he's telling Adam, look here. You can eat from me freely and learn how to live forever. Like, this is what you do. What he said, verse 17.
But the tree of knowledge and good and evil thou not eat of, for in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die.
So he told him, hey man, this is what's going to occur. If you eat from Satan, take his plans or his ideas or whatever, then guess what? You're going to die. Adam made that choice. Because you got to realize, like, he was the one that was deceived. Adam willfully went with the plan. He could have easily rebuked his wife. That's what he could have did. But nah, he ate from the tree as well because what? He ate from his wife. Let's go and look at it real quick. Let's go to Timothy. Or is that what is that? I got the cheap Bible. Huh? He said Eve. 1 Corinthians, yeah, 1 Corinthians chapter. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, my bad. Hold on. You know what I was looking at? I was looking at 2 Corinthians, 1 Corinthians chapter 11. Yeah, 1 Corinthians chapter 11. What you said, 1 Timothy? Yeah, 1 Timothy 2 and 13?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're going to jump there. 1 Corinthians 11, and let's pick it up at verse 7. Go ahead.
For a man indeed ought not to cover his head, for as much as he is the image and glory of God, but the woman is the glory of the man.
Go ahead.
For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man.
Verse 9.
Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man.
Verse 10.
For this cause ought the woman to have
Oh, this ain't what I'm looking for. My bad. Let's go to 1 Timothy. My bad. 1 Timothy chapter 2. 1 Timothy, yeah, this is. Appreciate you, man.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was going to say something along the same lines, but it's talking about water in the head. So 1 Timothy chapter 2, and pick it up at verse 11. Go ahead.
Let the woman learn in silence with all subjection.
Go ahead.
But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over man, but to be in silence.
Verse 13.
For Adam was first formed,
So Adam was the one that was formed first, not Eve. Verse 14.
then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression.
So we see is that Adam wasn't the one that was deceived. The woman was deceived. But Adam willfully went along with the woman's plan. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like they had choices. Adam had a choice in the Garden of God. You know, he had a choice to eat and live forever, because that's what came along with eating from the tree of life, is that you eat and you live forever. Or you talk to the tree of knowledge of good and evil and you die.
Yeah, I understand that. Like, that's why I said it was more rhetorical, like because like.
So what was the question about?
I get all that. It's
Satan
just like,
being
okay, you know, like I get all that, but I'm saying like the idea of creation and how it was going to be formed was day one, was already written in the script before Satan was cast out of heaven onto earth. It wasn't even here yet. But I'm saying if hypothetically, if anybody else in there was a guy to write the script and everything, why not just write the script to where that don't happen? You know what I'm saying? To where you don't put man in that position for eternal damnation.
So you said before Satan. Let's go look at Ezekiel, let's go look at Ezekiel real quick. Pertaining to Satan. Ezekiel. That way is it?
28. Oh, I see it in the garden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's go look at Ezekiel. Ezekiel 28. Let's pick it up at and we're gonna look at something else as well. Ezekiel 28, and we dealing with Satan. Alright? And we gotta realize, like, we're gonna look at that darkness that was in Genesis as well. Like, that darkness represents something. You know what I mean? So just because, you know, now we see Satan in the Garden of God, you know, like, don't just look at the fact that, you know, he didn't already understand the plan or the creation of God. You know what I mean? Don't feel as if, like, he didn't know that, okay, God was doing all this creating for man. Like, nah, what you're gonna see is that, like, you can't hide nothing from Satan. Like, not even, we'll read. Let's look at this right quick. Let's look at Ezekiel, because his spirit being well. All right, so let's look at this Ezekiel 28. And let's pick it up at verse 11. Go ahead.
Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, take up lamentation upon King of Tyrus, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Thou sealeth up the sum, full of wisdom, and perfect in beauty.
Verse 13.
Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God.
So we talking about the spirit that's behind the Prince Tyrus. Like, but it said in verse 13, Thou hast been in Eden, in the garden of God. Alright, we talking about what we just read in Genesis chapter 2. But keep going though.
Thou hast
Every
precious stone was thy covering.
You ain't got to read all that. Skip down to 14 and read that.
Thou art anointed. Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth. And I have set thee. Thou wast upon the holy mountain of God. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of stones of fire.
So we see that what? Satan was on the holy mountain of God. Meaning that he was at before he was cast to the earth in heaven. He was in the kingdom where the Father and the Son and the angels resided. That's where he was at. Keep going though. 15.
Thou was perfect in thy ways from the day that thou was created.
So we see is that he was created. God is the one that created the devil or Satan or Lucifer. He's the one that created him. Go ahead.
Till iniquity was found in thee.
So the Lord found iniquity inside of Satan. Right? We see is that what? Him being on the mountain of God, God found sin within inside of Satan. 16.
But the multitude of thy merchandise they have filled the midst of thee with violence. And thou hast sinned. Therefore I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of God, and I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stone fire.
You see that? Like now, like the Lord said, man, through your sin, I'm going to destroy you. But this is the action behind why Satan was cast to the earth. Let's go to Daniel real quick. Now, read 17. Read verse 17.
Thy heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings, that they may behold thee.
You see that? Like now the Lord's going to cast to the ground because what? He got puffed up.
Yeah, that's sort of my whole point is like we just said that God created Lucifer and he was like, you know, one of the most beautiful, glorious angels, you know, in heaven that sat with God and Jesus and everything like that. But he created him, so like he knew, you know what I'm saying? He knew what he created. Like if God is absolute and everything is 100% for certain, everything, then how can I read also this like, oh, and then one day he just like he saw iniquity and like it just, you know, like you already knew that. They're like, then why did it have to be that way? Why did, you know what I'm saying? Why even write it that way? Why?
Because everybody have a choice, bro.
But I'm saying God could have made it to where it was, you know, violence and everything perfect all the time. Is what I mean. And not even implement sin and wickedness and violence into.
But that's not reality though.
He don't do nothing.
Like that like if
Free
you
will.
yeah, like that's not reality. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like right now how we serve God is through fear. You know, but eventually like that's gonna be the natural man. You know what I mean? That's how you're naturally gonna become, because that's how you're supposed to be from 21 jump. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you have that choice. Like even with Satan, what we was gonna read is that like Satan made that choice. He made that move. He made that move, and he took a third of the angels. Right, he took them with him. So it's kind of like, yeah.
No, that sort of helps me just to think about it in the perception of even in the spiritual realm before Earth, the angels have free will as well.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like they like Satan is a perfect example.
Because when you think of making bad decisions of free will, you think about in the world. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Not in the heavenly realm.
That's why
it was blocking.
Right. That's why we was going to read this to show you is that like Satan himself, you know what I mean? He made a choice.
Right.
And his choice was, you know, to go against the operation of God. So that's why when he got cast to the earth, he went immediately to the garden of God. Because he knew with inside of the creation. He knew with inside the creation that God was designing all of this for man. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to get in the midst of all of this and I'm going to cause corruption. That's what he did. He came along with deception. You know what I mean? He stepped to the woman, deceived her, and got her to fall. So it's kind of like, now you understand is that Satan was all the way in the beginning as well.
Right.
If he's an angel, which the angel is immortal, everlasting, like it was a point where he was created.
Right.
But we can't read that God created the angels within what we dealt with today within the creation. I don't know where they was created at when. You know what I mean? But we can say how we look at some of the animals where they was born from some of the angels. You know what I mean? Because some of the angels got the image of a lion, they got the image of an eagle, they got the image of an ox. So, you know, we can look at how some of the animals was created from the angel, but we can't say when the angel was created. I don't know when, but I do know is that, let's go and look at it. Let's go look at it some more. Let's go look at this darkness. This darkness that was in the beginning. Because we see is that, you know, we saw in the class today is that, you know, the plan or the operation of God was to, you know, deliver man from death. So we saw is that that's what that light represents. All right. So let's look at what this darkness represents. Let's go to Acts. Let's read it first, then we're gonna go. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1. Because I was gonna go to Daniel, and I was gonna read how, you know, you can't hide your thoughts from Satan. You know what I mean? Like, he knows the thoughts, or he knows the intent, just like God do. He got that capability. You know what I mean? This is why, you know, we've been tempted. You can't sit and say, you know, it's Lord that's doing it. Because first of all, it's whatever you dealing with. So now if you dealing with stealing, or if you dealing with anger, or killing, or fornication, like that's something that per individual is dealing with. So now, you know, you get into a situation where somebody don't cut you off, Now you angry to the point where you go in your glove compartment, you got a pistol and you shoot a tire out, but hell, your tire, shooting their tire out don't cause they call a flip, now somebody die. All that comes from behind the fact that you got an anger management problem and it isn't controlled. You can't say that's God. That's all you. So now, who provoked you to that level? Satan. You know what I mean? He the one that pushed you all the way to that level, and now look what you don't got yourself into. So it's kind of like, it's kind of like, you know, when you look at Daniel, and we ain't read it, but let's before we go to Genesis, that's how my mind be jumping. I just be jumping. So
No,
you
but
got
I understand what you're saying. Yes,
you got to excuse me.
Yesterday, Julius, me and Julius were talking, and I told him that I was praying and everything on my drive home from work and everything. I was praying, and then immediately, like in the middle of my prayer, like a bad thought would come into my head. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
a bad thought. And I was like, that's how I know that my prayer. You know what I'm saying? Like at least that's how I feel. My prayers will be heard. Because that's when Satan knows how to intervene, come in, you know, and to hinder my prayers from reaching God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So immediately I gotta say, you know, Lord, please, I rebuke Satan in the name of Jesus Christ. Get out of my side of my head.
But what else helps that joy is this right here, bro. Like, I ain't kicking against, like, from listening to you, it seemed like you became real knowledgeable on that. You probably been knew about it, but it seems like you've been studying on that a great deal. Just by listening to you, you know what I mean? So it seems like you've been studying on the round earth or flat earth. That's what you've been studying on, but guess what? Guess what that's doing, bro? That's pulling you away from this right here. You know what I mean? Because that's great to know. I'm not kicking against that at all. That's super great to know. But guess what? Like, you ain't gonna be judged on, you know, whether you know the earth is round or flat. You're not. It's good to know.
Yeah, but on my research, a lot of it's coming. You know, I'm backtracking in the word, and I end up in the word anyway. You know?
Right. So this is what needs to be your meat and potatoes.
Right. I got you.
You know what I mean? Because what you're doing is you drown out all those evil thoughts. You know what I mean? Like from a natural man, bro, we wicked. Like me, I sit here and tell you I'm lying if I'm like, man, I'm cool. Yeah, I'm like if I don't deal with this, like, bro, mine will be somewhere far gone. Until like the Lord pulled the shirt off of me and be like, dang, this is who we, you know what I mean, supposed to represent me. But nah, bro, it's right here was keeping me insane, bro. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure that's for this brother, that's for this brother, this sister, you. That's per individual, because if you take this away, all you got is open opportunity for them thoughts to just get there and trickle and get you to start thinking this way and that way. And now you don't found yourself in jam. So even this Daniel, right? I keep saying we're gonna read it. Even in this Daniel chapter, hey, you know what? It wasn't in Daniel, it was in Ezekiel. I read too far past it. Let's go back to Ezekiel 28. I read too far past. It ain't in Daniel, it's Ezekiel. Ezekiel 28. Ezekiel 28.
The first verse.
Yep. Ezekiel 28. And read verse 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Go ahead.
Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel.
Go ahead.
There is no secret that they can hide from thee.
You see that? Like, it ain't no secret that you can hide from Satan, bro. You know what I mean? Because he right here. Like, and you gotta realize, like, words are spirit, man. You know what I mean? It's kind of, that's why you gotta kind of be careful about how you hold your conversation and who you hold it with. What type of information you put right here and where you get it from. It's you gotta be mindful of that, because like that stuff is serious. You know what I mean? Linguistics play on the mind real major. So you gotta understand is that if you're not putting this here, then you give room for the devil. That's what you give room to, because we see right here, it says what? You can't hide no secret from him. You know what I mean? Whatever you dealing with, like, you can't hide that from him. He knows. Now you calling yourself trying to serve God? All right. He gonna try and prove God wrong by putting in front of you whatever he know right here that you dealing with. He better try and put it right on you and expose you before God. Yeah, you telling here serving you God? Watch this. That's what's going on. That's what took place with Job.
Job did.
You know what I mean? That's what it took place with Job. And Job, what? He didn't sin not one time with his lips. Had his whole family killed, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like you even told him, once this curse gonna die.
Exactly. And he was like, shoot, you think what? We receive like good at the hand and don't receive evil? You know what I mean? Like in other words, we're gonna go through it, but we gotta keep our integrity. You know what I mean? So now let's go and look at this Acts real quick. Let's look at this Acts pertaining to this light and this darkness that was in the beginning. Because you got to realize, like, you know, the light, you know, it represents Christ. But the darkness represents that guy we know of as Diablo or Apollyon or Bad. So look at this Acts 26, and let's pick it up at 15. Yeah, he's snoring hard.
26 and 15.
Yeah, hold on for a second. Hey, I think the camera's picking up your snoring. I didn't see that. You go sit behind the fence. Yeah, look up. Yeah, but I think it's picking up your in the back. Boom. 15. Go ahead.
And I said, Who art thou, Lord? And he said, I am Jesus, whom thou persecutest.
This is Paul, you know, what took place with him when, you know, the Lord appeared unto him and he was blinded, right? This is Paul asking, like, who art thou, Lord? And he said, I am Jesus, whom thou persecutest. Verse 16.
But rise and stand upon thy feet, for I have appeared unto thee for this purpose, to make thee a minister and witness of both these things which thou hast seen, and of those things and of those things in the which I will appear unto thee,
Go ahead.
delivering thee from the people and from the Gentiles, unto whom now I send thee,
Verse 18.
to open their eyes and turn them from darkness to light.
So we see that what? Paul is going to be a light to the Gentiles. And he's turning the Gentiles' eyes from darkness unto light. What else it say?
And from the power of Satan unto God.
So we see is that Satan, or the power of Satan, is darkness. And we see that the light is God. So we turning what? The darkness to light. Then we see is that it says from the power of Satan unto God. Go ahead.
That they might receive forgiveness of sins and inheritance among them which are sanctified by faith that is in me.
So we see is that Satan, he represents that darkness. And God represents light. Yeah. Yeah. So let's go over here to 1 John real quick. 1 John. Before we go to 1 John, let's look at Ephesians chapter 6. Ephesians chapter 6. And let's pick it up at verse 12. Go ahead.
Ready?
Deja, let them alone. Let them sleep. If they sleep, chill out. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darknesses of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places.
See that? We ain't wrestling against, our next door neighbor. You know what I mean? Who got his music up. Hey, where you going? Let somebody go with you if you're going to go.
I'm going to go with her.
Oh, okay. All right. We not wrestling against our next door neighbor who got his music up at 3 o'clock in the morning. We trying to get some sleep.
Spiritual.
You know what I mean? Because we can't go over there and approach him on the mindset of like, the flesh and blood approach. Like, man, you know what I mean? Like, now we can't go over there because we understand is that, it ain't him that you're dealing with, it's what's behind him. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's what we dealing with. All right? So that's why, Paul is saying in verse 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. That's what we're dealing with. Who are locked in the chains of darkness. So they know your thoughts. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like they immediately destroyed the creation. They didn't destroy it. They just put death on the table. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So now we got to work 6,000 years. We almost at the end of our labor, enter into the rest. But the original plan was for us to enter into the 7-day rest and eat forever and be gods. That was the original plan, but some came in the midst of it. Yeah, some came in the midst of that. So it's kind of like it's kind of like it wasn't so much as Adam and Eve. You know what I mean? It was like Satan. Like he came immediately. Like when he was cast to the earth, he went immediately to the garden of God. That's where he went at. You know what I mean? So with that, he said, all right, I'm finna
He already had his plan orchestrated as well.
he already had it. You know, so you know, man, that's what we're dealing with. But let's go look at 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 real quick.
It's hard, you know. I was telling Brother Julius, like, it's so much easier to, you know, like if someone's coughing, sneezing, sniffling, or whatever, you know, you could attribute those symptoms to that, a cold or a flu or whatever, because they're tangible. You see what I'm saying?
All right.
And it's living in the world when something's going on in our lives, like it's so easy to point the finger at the person.
Right.
Because that's our carnal, worldly way of viewing it, not understanding that the principalities and powers that are, you know, spiritual warfare is taking place. You know, it's not really what you can see that you should be afraid of. It's what you can't see that you should be really frightened of.
You're right. Hey, you know what? Oh, that's let's go look at that real quick. Let's go look at an example of exactly what you're talking about. Exactly what you're talking about. Let's go to Daniel chapter 10. And this right here is the example of what you were just referring to. That's why, you know, Paul said what he said in that Ephesians chapter 6. You know what I mean? Is that we ain't wrestling against flesh and blood. We wrestling against spiritual wicked. So let's look at this Daniel chapter 10 real quick. Go ahead.
Verse 2? Start at 2.
Yeah, you can start at 2, yeah.
Okay. In those days, I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks. I ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh nor wine to my mouth, not that I anoint myself at all, till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled.
Go ahead.
And in the 4th and 20th day of the first month, and I was by the side of the great river, which is Hiddekel.
Go ahead.
Then I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. His body was like beryl, his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes of lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like in color of polished brass. And the voice of his words were like a voice of a multitude.
We dealing with an angel. That's what, you know, Daniel is looking at this point. But skip down to verse 11 and read that.
Then he said unto me, O Daniel, a man greatly beloved, understand the words that I speak unto thee, and stand upright, for unto thee am I now sent.
Go ahead.
And when he had spoken this word unto me, I stood trembling.
Go ahead.
Then said he unto me, Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day thou didst set thine heart to understand, and to chasten thyself before thy God. Thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words.
So we see in Daniel chapter 10 and verse 2, you know, Daniel chastened himself for 3 full weeks, 21 days. Like, he went without no water, food. He didn't anoint himself with oil or any of that because he's trying to get understanding on his vision. But this angel said unto him, man, guess what? From the first day you chastened yourself. Like, nah, we didn't wait until the 21st day got here then come. Nah, we're trying to get to you from the first day you chastened yourself. That's what he said. He said, for from the first day that thou didst set thy heart to understand and to chasten thyself before thy God, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words. So now, you know, they had already heard his words, but someone was blocking them up. Verse 13, read that.
The prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days.
So it says the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me for 21 days. Like, nowadays I couldn't get to you right away because I had a spiritual warfare going on. I had Satan. That's who that is.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't no regular prince. Nah, this is the spirit that's behind this prince of Persia. He's standing in the midst of Gabriel getting this message to Daniel. Keep going though, because check out what this angel
Was
asked.
that the angel? The angel is saying that's why he couldn't get to him. He was
Yeah.
That was angel.
Uh-huh.
Talking to me.
Go ahead, keep reading.
But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kingdom of Persia, with the kings of Persia.
You see that? So he called for backup. He called for Michael. Michael, the one who cast Satan out of heaven in Revelation chapter 12. He the one that cast Satan out of heaven. So now, Gabriel needed backup. Needed backup, and he called on Michael. Because what? This angel or this devil blocked up vision. Like he came in the midst of all of this. Skip down to verse 20 and read that.
Then said he, knowest thou wherefore I am come unto thee? And now I return to fight with the prince of Persia. And when I am gone forth, lo, the prince of Gracia shall come.
Go ahead.
But I will show thee that which is noted in the scripture of truth, and there is none that holdeth me in these things, but Michael your prince.
Let's go back up here to Daniel chapter 4. I keep saying Gabriel, but let's see. Nah, not Daniel chapter 4. Daniel chapter 8. Daniel chapter 8 and pick it up at 15.
And it came to pass, when I, even Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man.
So we see another angel. The same angel that we saw in Daniel chapter 10. Alright, so he said, I seen there stood before me as the appearance of a man. Go ahead, verse 16.
And I heard a man's voice between the banks of Uri, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man understand the vision.
So now we putting the name of the angel that we read about in Daniel chapter 10. His name's Gabriel. This is the one that called for backup from Michael. You know what I mean? Because you had Satan, who's the prince of Persia, stood in the midst of it, trying to block up Gabriel from getting this message unto Daniel.
That's mine.
And that's what take place. You know what I mean? That's why you got to pray without ceasing. That's why, you know what I mean? Like, you got to realize, like, you know, when you pray to the Lord, just because he don't immediately answer your prayers, like, don't stop praying. You know what I mean? Because you got somebody on the spiritual side, you know what I mean, that's trying to hinder up your prayers.
I didn't ever think about it like that.
And that's what's going on. Like, you can't get weary in the flesh. You know what I mean? You got to stand strong and just know that, hey, you know what, man, the Lord going to deal with this. He going to deal with this. And that's how we all got to be in this fight. You know what I mean? Because our adversary, the devil, is like a roaring lion trying to destroy you spiritually. So even right here, we see that Gabriel was the angel that was trying to get to Daniel's prayers, but shoot, you had the devil in the midst of it trying to like block it up.
Yeah, see, that's a blessing that I got to hear today, man. Because, you know, when you praying consistently and everything,
Right.
And, you know, like, and you just don't really feel it here. It's a thing, like, you start questioning yourself, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
man, am I not, you know, doing what's pleasing to the Lord, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It never even occurred to me.
Right.
I know that, you know, principalities and powers and spiritual warfare against me and for me, but
Right.
I didn't even, never crossed my mind that they're going at it themselves.
They are. It's a spiritual warfare on the realm that we can't even see it. So that's why we as servants, we gotta stay strong in the faith. Let's go over and look at Luke chapter 18. Pertaining to this unjust judge. You know what I mean? Along the lines of, like, you gotta pray without ceasing. You know, you can't give in, because that's he waiting for. He waiting for you to give in. Now he might, shoot, I got him. You know what I mean? Like, he don't even believe in you. His faith ain't even strong.
Slowly, just, and then you didn't show up to 7 in the morning.
Yeah. That'd be the devil. That'd be the devil, man.
Cracking the door, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
11, man.
Yeah. Let's look at this Luke 18. Luke 18 and verse 1. Go ahead.
And he spake a parable unto them to this end, that men might always to pray. That men ought always to pray and not to faint.
You see that? Men ought to always to pray and not faint, meaning don't give up. Don't get weary. Verse 2.
Saying, there was in a city a judge which feared not God, and neither regarded man.
So he ain't have fear of God, nor he feared man. He regard man. Verse 3.
And there was a widow in the city, and she came unto him, saying, Avenge me of mine adversary.
Go ahead.
And he would not for a while, but afterwards said within himself, Though I fear not God, nor regard man, yet because this widow troubleth me, I will avenge her, lest by her continually come and weary me.
You see that? Like he don't have no regard of God, nor fear of men. So this widow, she kept coming at him like, man, avenge me of my adversary, or my enemy. So he said, verse 4, and he would not for a while. Like he was like, man, in other words, like, no, I'm not. But afterward he said within himself, though I fear not God, nor regard man, yet because this widow troubled me, I will avenge her, lest by her continual coming, she weary me. That's how you take your prayers to the Lord. You know what I mean? Like you still taking it to him. And all your trouble and all your turmoil, just because you ain't getting that immediate response, man, keep going, man. Don't give up.
Yeah, that's a good example.
Keep going, though. Verse 6.
The judge wasn't even in the word. He didn't even care about the word. That's the way the Lord works it all out.
Exactly. Exactly. Read verse 6, though.
And the Lord said, Hear what the unjust judge say.
Go ahead.
And shall not God avenge his own elect?
You see that? Like God, he the elect. If the unjust judge who don't regard God or don't even care about man, like God care about us. You know what I mean? So in other words, keep praying, bro. Like don't faint. Go ahead, finish that up.
Which cry day and night unto him, though he bear long with them.
Go ahead.
I tell you that we will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on the
You
earth.
see that? You gotta hurry and come. Gotta come to the earth. He gotta hurry and get here because, hey, if he take too long, and I'm talking about that his coming, he gotta come because guess what? If not, he don't find no faith on the earth. You know what I mean? Everybody gonna cry back. That's true. Like shoot, let it keep going for about 60 years, and the Lord don't return. I don't know what I might be doing. 6 years from now, I might be 90. Yeah, you know what I mean? But like 40 years from now, I don't know what I might be doing for serving God. I probably lost my mind after 40 years from now. I mean, I'll be 70. Like, who knows? You know what I mean? But that's why the Lord, that's why he said in what? In verse 8, I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man come, shall he find faith on the earth. Like, it ain't going to be it if you don't learn to avenge us speedily. So, man, just understand, man, just because you praying and it seems like the situation ain't turning, stay on it, bro. Stay with it because that ain't nothing but the devil, bro.
I got some greatness. That was a blessing thing for me.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Anybody else?
What's up? Yeah, I like to comment on what we're talking about. When you said I know, like you said, God is a number to God. He knows everything. He knows all. But that's why he's also a wise and smart God as well. That's why he said like a backup plan or a plan. Because like you said, Satan knows the plan of God as well. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So thank God that he is the God he is. You know what I mean? And say like salvation means to salvage. Salvage what? His creation. Right. You know what I mean? So you have a plan and he had a plan in place. Like you said, for the foundation of the world. Because he knows. Look how stiff-necked we are. And he repented himself a couple times for destroying us. But Moses had to remind him, look, God, you did promise Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
So if God repented himself for destroying us, he could have did it. He said, I'm going to kill all of them, Moses. I'll make another one through you. Another nation through you. Moses like, hold on, God. Now, hey. You said about Abraham's baby promise? And God said, I pray that you can say that, Moses. Yeah. You know what I mean? So he's a very wise God. It's not him, it's us.
It is.
It never was him. But he put eternal life on the table for us, and guess what? Just like Brother DeBucker said, we have a choice. Even Satan had a choice. Angels got a choice. You got to be very influential to influence a third of the angels. You got to be very influential. And then right in the presence of God and himself. You got to be very influential. Satan is a bad boy.
Very, very good.
why they said, that's why, like,
Satan is a
like
bad
parable
boy.
in Genesis, you know what I'm saying? Like, we know it wasn't an actual apple, we know it wasn't an actual snake, slithering snakes, you know what I'm saying? But they're like, yo, this dude, he was highly approachable, he was good looking, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
He was charismatic.
Perfect in beauty.
That's
He
what
was
he doing.
charismatic, he could speak.
He was
good,
playing
you
the
know what I'm
pipes
saying?
too. He was playing that music too.
Right.
Father was playing cello like
But
that.
guess what now? That's why God put him under that chain of darkness. Because imagine if Satan appeared to us, we couldn't deal with Satan. We couldn't.
Yeah.
Even back with Daniel, when he approached him, he was trembling. Back in those days, they got sick, they trembled. You can't deal with a spiritual being, not a flesh and blood creature like us. They're too powerful.
Yeah.
That's why God put him on that chain of darkness. We don't have to deal with him like that. We got to deal with him up here now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So guess what? Even today, look how deceived the whole world is with just his doctrine alone. Even we were deceived at one time. He's very crafty. That's all I want to say. Just
Praise the Lord. I know Lexi, she got a question. She said, why do people say Bible means basic instruction
for leaving Earth. Yeah.
we will inhabit?
I'm leaving Earth anyway.
We believe we will inhabit the earth with the Lord, I believe.
Another church cliche.
Books plural.
I don't know.
It's just a classic.
It's false doctrine.
You know, it's just another church cliche we always lived to hear all our lives.
That's it.
That's all that is.
You take it? Okay, you see what I'm doing? You can take a line to the room, man. We got a room. Alright. But yeah, like the brother saying, man, that's just a cliche. You know what I mean? Yeah, it is basic instructions. We know what them instructions is. Let's go over to Ecclesiastes chapter 12.
Right.
And let's look at this Ecclesiastes chapter 12. And that is true. Alright, that part is, but yeah, of course you're not leaving the earth. No. So let's look at Ecclesiastes 12. And we'll read one verse. Ecclesiastes 12. And read verse 13.
12 to 13.
Nah, you can read 13.
Let's hear the conclusion of the whole matter.
Go ahead.
Fear God and keep his commandments,
Go ahead.
for this is the whole duty of man.
This is the whole duty, but read 14 though.
For God shall bring every work into judgment.
You see that? Every work he gonna bring into judgment. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, when you leave this earth and return back to the dirt that you came from, guess what? When the Lord returns, he gonna wake you up out of that dirt, and if you had bad judgment, he gonna bring all of that to remembrance. That's why he said in 14, God shall bring every work into judgment, and what else?
Every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
You see that? So if it's secret, it was evil, guess what? The Lord gonna bring that before in judgment. But if it was good, he gonna bring it up as well. But we see is that, you know, the basic instructions that, you know, you want to deal with while you're on this earth is fear God, man. Keep his commandments. You know, you know, I mean, those are the Bible instructions. You know, those really are basic instructions. Fear God, keep his commandments, keep testimony of Jesus. Like, that's your life. Let's go and look at some of the Romans right quick. Romans chapter 8. I think that's what Romans chapter 8. Hold on for a second. Yeah, spiritual life. Hold on. Oh, that ain't it. That's it though. But that's what you want. That's what you want. No, you know, we read in class today. Look at Romans chapter 5. Yeah, Romans chapter 5. And let's read verse, yeah, that boy tired. Let's read verse 8. Go ahead.
But God commanded his love toward us, and in that, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us.
Go ahead.
Much more then, being now justified by his blood, we shall be saved from the wrath through him.
Exactly. Keep going. Verse 10.
For if, when we were enemies, we were reconciled to God by the death of his son, much more being reconciled, we shall be saved by his life.
You see that? We're going to be saved by his life. You know, this is your salvation. This is what Christ brought with him. You know what I mean? So we see is that fear God and keep his commandments. That's the whole duty of man, as well as, you know, the blood of Jesus. All right, this is something I've heard people use and say, this is how they know the book was on made to subdue blacks. Okay. Yep. Anybody else? That boy right there. He's sleeping hard. Nah, he good though. Established. Oh, he good, see? Yeah, he good. Yeah, he enjoying the Sabbath. Sure, nobody ain't got no questions. We better close it up. Yep. Alright. Let's go ahead and close it on out then. Hold on. She said she typing. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. You better type quick. Pick up a phone and call. I was reading some of the songs, boy. Psalm 74? Oh, they did a big song here, bro.
I always be, you know what I mean, when I be reading, I be catching something like, man, something catch my attention, I be like, wow, God ain't nothing to play with, boy.
Yeah, boy.
Hello?
These old purple people is, boy. You was part of them, too.
Yeah, she go right here. She want to say something. But listen. Go ahead.
All right, Brother Marcus, I heard you told me call.
Yeah.
Well, okay, as far as when you said the boundary of men is 12, right?
Right.
So the question that I had is, you know, man's first day being on his 6th day, and I understand how you had laid it out for us. But one thing that I couldn't grasp or comprehend just then is our 7th day lands on his 5th day, which
Hold on, say it again.
to 12,000 years, and I believe that's the when we start with the trials and tribulation, right?
She said her, yeah, she said that our first day lands on the 5th day, something, I don't know.
Say it again.
Can you hear me?
I got his phone. Now go ahead.
Okay, so you said the boundary of men is 12.
Right?
When I looked at this calendar or the chart, it's basically landing on the 12,000 years. Our 7th day landing on the 12,000 years, which is when we start going into the trials and tribulations, right? Or the have to start fleeing.
You said, what you mean trials and tribulation?
For the 12,000 years.
You talking about great tribulation?
Yeah, great tribulation.
Are you talking about great tribulation 3.5 years?
Yeah.
That's gonna happen before. That's gonna happen before 12,000 years or 7 days.
So when does that happen? When was that?
Great tribulation.
Yeah.
Great tribulation on the chart. When will it happen on the chart?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Alright, I'm gonna give Vince back the phone. You watching?
Yeah, I'm watching. I'm about to hang up and come back online and watch.
Okay. Alright.
All right.
Alright, so the question is, on the chart, when does the Great Tribulation occur? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, so first day of man was on the 6th day of God's creation. Let's go into Daniel chapter 11. Let me get that board right quick. Alright. How that look on that
I can't even see it on there.
The screen.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Sit it. Is it out?
Alright, hold on, Lex. All right, Lexi. So we understand is that day one, day one is the creation. It goes all the way to, oh, that's your camera. That's why I'm like, I'm blocking. I ain't even thinking about the camera. So day one goes all the way to day 6. And then the 7th day, right? But we know according to the creation, man first day was on day 6. So that's why we started that count for man from 6. Our first day, and I'm going to get to your other part, but I just want to go back over this. So day 6 of the creation was the first day for man. Then this was our second day, which fell on the Sabbath. We didn't go into the Sabbath because we sinned against God. So now we got to work for another 6,000 years, and then we're going to enter into our rest. So, or 6 days. All right, so we got, that's day 1 for man, day 2, day 3, day 4, 5, 6, 7. So if you count all the way to 7, that'll give you 12,000 years. Now we know that this is the rest that we want to enter into, right? Which is what the brother was saying, the 1,000-year reign of Christ, which is what we read in Revelation chapter 20. All right? So at this point, going in here, the Great Tribulation has to occur right here. Mm-hmm. It got to occur before the 1,000 years, is because when we go into the 1,000 millennium, Satan locked in the bottomless pit. Mm-hmm. The Pope of Rome is destroyed. Jesus is now King of Kings and Lord of Lords. So now we finna go and read some of that. So we're gonna put this line, and this line gonna say tribulation. 3.5 year tribulation. Now understand, one day represents 1,000 years. So just because, okay, 3.5 years inside of the 6th day, okay, this 6th day is to be for 1,000 years. So 3.5 years, that can run inside of the 6th day. But it'll be geared closer towards entering into the 7th day, which is the Sabbath day of rest for man. Alright? So now, let's go over here to, let's go to Daniel chapter 11. Make sure she can see that on the board. It says no connection. Alright, she can see all that, I think. I'm gonna bring it closer.
We all be going to see this now. We'll be going to see this now.
Go to on your YouTube.
That's 3.5 years what I got drawn down there at the bottom. Alright? So let's go over here to Daniel chapter 11. Daniel chapter 11, and let's pick it up at verse 31. Go ahead.
And arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate.
Alright, keep going.
And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall corrupt it by flatteries. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits.
Alright, go ahead.
And they that understand among the people shall instruct many. Yet they shall fall by the sword, and by flame, by captivity, and by spoil many days. Now when they shall fall, they shall be hopeless with the little health, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries. And some of them of understanding shall fall, to try them, to purge, and to make them right, even to the time of the end.
So this is all occurring during the Great Tribulation. This is what's going to happen. It's going to say it. Go ahead.
Because it is yet for a time appointed.
So this is for an appointed time. You know, arms, they're going to go into Jerusalem and they're going to stand on his behalf. They're going to stand on his behalf, the armies. All right? Let's go over to Matthew 24 real quick. Matthew 24, because this is what's taking place before the 7th day or the Sabbath day of rest. Before Jesus came. So let's look at Matthew 24. Let's pick it up at verse 21. Go ahead.
For then shall there be great tribulation, such as not since the beginning of the world to this time. No, nor ever shall be.
Read 15, because that's where I should have started at. Go ahead.
When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand.
And that's what we just read in Daniel chapter 11. You know, that's why I was talking about the army's going to stand on his behalf. They're going to do, you know, they're going to, you know, cause the daily sacrifice to stop. You know, they're going to kill anybody by sword, by flame, and by captivity. They're going to, you know, a lot of people are going to cleave unto those that do know their God. They're going to be doing exploits. Meaning they're going to be talking against the Pope saying he ain't the one. Don't follow his ways, or, you know, Jesus is going to kill you. So now we see in Daniel in Matthew 24 and 15, Jesus is instructing us to go back and read, you know, Daniel, because it's talking about the abomination of desolation. As to what we just read in Daniel chapter 11. What is it saying in 16 though?
Let them that be in Judea flee into the mountains.
Go ahead.
Let them which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house.
So it is that what? When the abomination of desolation is standing in the holy place, you know, the Lord is practically saying we need to run for our lives. That's why he's saying that let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains, and let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of the house. Verse 18.
Neither let him which is in the field return back to his clothes.
Go ahead.
Woe to them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days.
Go ahead.
But pray that your flight not be in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day.
Go ahead.
For then shall be great tribulation.
Go ahead.
For such as not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be.
So we're going to see great tribulation on the earth. This is going to be for 3.5 years. And this man is going to be ruling the earth with hard rigor. He's going to be running it. All right, let's go over to Revelation real quick. You know what? Let's stay in that Matthew 24. And let's read the end of that. Skip down to verse 27 and read that.
For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even into the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be.
Go ahead.
For whatsoever, I'm sorry, for
Verse 29.
wheresoever,
Verse 29.
29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken.
Go ahead.
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
Now let's go over to Revelation. Revelations. All right, Joe. Hey, it's good to see you, man. It's always good to see you, man. Praise the Lord. Yeah, I already said about Mike. Revelations on Revelations 13. Revelations 13. And no, my bad. Revelations. Because we just saw Matthew 24. We saying that it is immediately after the tribulation. Well, it's not literally immediately, not like, okay, 3.5 years is over. Immediately after half of that year, now Lord better return. Nah, something got to take place. So let's look at Revelations. Because you got to realize the 7th day is 1,000 years of rest. Like, this has to occur before 1,000 years of rest, because none of this ain't going to be going on. Nah, it's going to be over with. Once you get into the rest, like, it's Jesus running the whole earth from Zion. So let's look at Revelations chapter. Let's read Revelations 15. Revelation 15, let's start at verse 1. Because we saw it says what? Immediately after the tribulation. Well, this is immediately after the tribulation. What we finna read in Revelation 15. Go ahead.
And I saw another sign in heaven, a great and marvelous, 7 angels having 7 last plagues. For in them is filled with the wrath of God.
So we see is that the wrath of God is in these 7 last plagues. Verse 2.
And I saw, as it were, as a sea of glass mingled with fire. And them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of God.
You see that? It says, and I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire. And then that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark. So now we're looking at the great tribulation is over with at this point. All right? So it says, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of God. Verse 3.
And they that sing the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous are thy works, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints.
Skip down to verse 6 and read that.
And the 7 angels came out of the temple having 7 plagues, clothed in pure and white linen, having their breasts girded with the golden girdles.
Go ahead.
And one of the 4 beasts gave unto the 7 angels 7 vials of full of the wrath of God, who liveth forever and ever.
Skip down to chapter 16 and pick it up at verse 3.
And the 2nd angel poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as the blood of dead men.
So we're looking at the 7 last plagues. We're looking at the 7 last plagues, and we see is that verse 3 it says the 2nd angel poured out his vial on the sea, and it became as the blood of a dead man, and every living soul died in the sea. That's the plague that came from what? From the 2nd angel. Read verse 4.
And the 3rd angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and fountains of water, and they became blood.
Go ahead.
And I heard the angels of the waters say, Thou art righteousness, O Lord, which art, and wait, and watch, and shalt be, because thou hast judged thus.
Skip down to verse 12 and read it.
And the 6th angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, and the way of the kings of the east may be prepared.
Go ahead.
And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet.
Skip down to chapter 17. Verse 17 and read that.
And the 7th angel poured out his vial into the air, and there became a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne saying, It is done.
Go ahead.
And there were voices and thunders and lightning, and there was a great earthquake, such as not since men were ever upon the earth. So mighty an earthquake and so great. And the great city was divided into 3 parts.
So we see is that now it is done. The Lord will return. Because what we was just looking at, we was looking at 7 last plagues, right? That's destruction coming from God. So God hasn't even stepped foot back on this earth yet. So these 7 last plagues are coming from God. Now when he said it is done, now here comes that 7th trumpet. So now the 7th trumpet is going to introduce the coming of Lord. So now the Lord is down this earth. Now the Lord is killing and killing and killing. Right? Let's go over to Revelation 19. This all has to occur before we go into the day of rest. But this would all fall on the 6th day leading up into going into the 7th day. As to what you saw on the chart. It will all lead up. Okay, you see it. Okay, praise the Lord. So we're going to keep going. It all lead up to that point before the 7th day. So let's look at Revelation 19 and let's pick it up at verse 13. Go ahead. 12.
His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his heads were many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew, but he himself.
Go ahead.
And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God.
Verse 14.
And the armies which are in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean.
Go ahead.
And out of his mouth goes a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations. And he shall rule with the rod of iron. And he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness of the wrath of the Almighty God.
Verse 16.
He has on his vesture, on his thigh, a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
Go ahead.
And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried out with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, Come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God, that ye may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great.
So we're looking at Joel chapter 3. This is what occurred in Joel chapter 3 when the Lord told, the Gentiles to come down into the valley of Jehoshaphat and make war. He killed them. So now we're looking at the dead bodies being ate up by what? The carnivorous beast of the air. That's why he said in verse 18, that they made the flesh of the kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, small and great. Verse 19.
And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against them that sat on the horse and against his army.
Go ahead.
And the beast was taken with him, the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast,
Go ahead.
and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into the lake of burning with brimstone.
Let's go to Zechariah real quick. We're going to read the same thing in Zechariah that we'll read in Revelation 20. But, you know, it's going to give a little more detail as to what, on how the kingdom is going to be during the reign of Jesus, 4,000 years. Zechariah 14. Let's pick it up at Let's pick it up at verse 12. Go ahead. Hold on. Read 9 and 12.
And the Lord shall be king over all the earth.
Go ahead.
In that day there shall be one Lord, and his name one.
And we're talking about Jesus. When he set up his kingdom for 1,000 years, he's going to be Lord over the 1,000-year millennium. That's why in Mark chapter 2, we call him the Lord of the Sabbath, because we know he made the Sabbath, but he sanctified the Sabbath in Genesis chapter 2. Also, understanding that he's going to rule the Sabbath for 1,000 years. Verse 12, go ahead.
And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth.
That's a look. Verse 13.
And it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from the Lord shall be among them, and they shall lay hold every one on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against his hand of his neighbor.
Go ahead.
And Judah shall also fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the heathen round shall be gathered together, gold and silver and apparel in great abundance.
Skip down to 16, read that.
And it shall come to pass that every one that is left of all nations which come against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
You see that? Now they're going to be coming up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. But keep going though, 17.
And it shall be that whoso will not come up with all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain.
You see that? The Lord is back on this earth now. So now they got to come up and keep the feast. That's what they got to do. Let's go over to Joel chapter 2. And this will be the last place. Micah. Micah, we ready to go. Micah chapter 4. Yeah. This is good. This. You know, I had this in the class because it actually gives you detail as to, you know, what Jesus' kingdom gonna be like. You know, it's his knowledge gonna cover the sands of the sea. They say that somewhere else, but let's read Micah chapter 4. Micah chapter 4. And start at verse. Let's start at 1. We're gonna read 1 through Go ahead.
But in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established in the top of mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow into it. And many nations shall come and say, Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, and to the house of God Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his path. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem.
Go ahead.
And he shall judge among many people, and rebuke strong nations afar off.
Go ahead.
And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks.
Mm-hmm.
Nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore.
So there is no more war going on. Everything is done at this point. The Lord back on his earth, he ruled from Zion. And at this point, the Great Tribulation has already occurred prior to this. So like I had drawn on the chart, you know, it's kind of like somewhere along here. Alright, this will be where your Great Tribulation is going to take off. It's going to happen for 3.5 years. Then after the tribulation is done, then the Lord is going to drop his 7 last plagues on the earth. Each vow is going to be introduced with a trumpet, and that's going to be plaguing the earth for the 7. At the sound of the 7th trumpet is when now the Lord is coming to the earth. Now the Lord is coming to the earth, and he's going to go and kill Esau. That's going to be your atonement. That's going to happen around here as well. Alright. Then he's going to deal with the battle of Jehoshaphat. All that's going to occur around this time frame. He's going to kill them all. That's when we read Revelation 19. And the fowls of the air are going to eat them up. And now, what we read in Micah chapter 4, the Lord is ruling from Zion. That's this right here. The 7,000. Oh, I'm sorry, 12,000, which represents 7 days. This is the rest. 1,000 years of rest. We ain't read it in Matthew. I mean, we ain't reading Revelations 20 because we read in Micah chapter 4. Is that the Lord is going to rule from Zion. The law going to go forth. He's going to be King of kings and Lord of lords. And the tribulation period is over with before you get into the 7th day. So, Lex, if you got any more questions on that, call Vince, but we can close out. Call her real quick, Vince, and see if she on good. Cause my phone, keep buffering. So the last message I saw her type.
I ain't see her do no more song.
I saw her type. I see it. That's the last.
Yeah, that's all I got last. I got out there.
Yeah, so I don't know if she saw
I
the
think
chart or if she saw what.
Yeah, that's the last one I got from what I see.
Okay, she said I'm good, bro.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, all right, appreciate it. Praise the Lord. All right, we finna go and close out. You ain't got more questions, Lexi?
Jack, blank it up.
You answer my questions.
You answer my question. Okay, praise the Lord. All right, we finna go ahead and close out. So we ask that the sisters cover their heads, brothers cover their heads. Let's face Jerusalem. Vince, you got anything?
No, I'm good, bro.
Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead and do it.
Our Father which art in heaven,
Our Father which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come,
Thy kingdom come,
thy will be done
thy will be done
in earth
in earth as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
As it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread,
Give us this day our daily bread,
and forgive us our debts
and forgive us our
as
debts,
we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not to temptation,
And lead us not into temptation,
but deliver us from evil.
but deliver us from
For
evil.
thine is the kingdom,
Thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever.
forever.
Amen.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord,
For he is good.
for he is
And
good,
his mercy endures forever.
and his mercy endures forever.
Praise the Lord God of Israel.
Praise the Lord God of
For he
Israel,
is good.
for he is good,
And his mercy endures
and his
forever.
mercy endures forever.
In Jesus' name we pray.
In Jesus' name we pray.
The Holy One of
The
Israel.
Holy One of Israel,
The King of Kings.
the King of
The
Kings,
Lord of
the
Lords.
Lord of Lords,
One true God.
the one true God,
There's no other.
and there is no other. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Hallelujah! 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 In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
I use the bathroom.
I love my
Don't touch that Bible.
church. And my church.
Good, Dad. Daddy.